Look down at your feet. It feels like the ground is perfectly still, right? Like you aren't moving at all. But it's a total lie. Right now, you are moving faster than a bullet. The Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, circling the Sun at 67,000 miles an hour, while the Sun drags our entire solar system around the center of the Milky Way at 500,000 miles an hour. But here is the crazy part. That is just the local traffic. When astronomers finally zoomed out and looked at our entire galaxy, they realized something terrifying. We weren't just spinning, we were falling. The Milky Way is racing through the deep emptiness of space at 1.3 million miles per hour. We are being pulled, dragged in by a force of gravity so massive it actually bends the shape of space. For decades, humanity had absolutely no idea what was pulling us. Because whatever it was hiding in the one place we couldn't look. But I need to tell you the craziest part right now. Even at 1.3 million miles an hour, we will never, ever get there. So how do you solve the biggest mystery in the universe? First, you have to understand our blind spot. You know that glowing cloud of stars you see in the sky on a dark night? That is the center of our galaxy. It is packed with bright stars. But it is also stuffed with thick clouds of space dust. That dust blocks our view. It acts like a giant brick wall blocking 20% of the entire universe from our telescopes. Astronomers actually call this the zone of avoidance. In the 1970s, a group of scientists called the Seven Samurai decided they were tired of avoiding it. They wanted to know what was pulling us. So what do you do when you can't see through a wall of dust? You change the way you look at it. In the late 1980s, astronomers realized that while regular light is blocked by the dust, other things aren't. X-rays and radio waves can punch straight through that dust like it isn't even there. Therefore, they swung their best radio dishes directly into the zone of avoidance. And they waited. Slowly, the blinding dust became see-through. But what they saw on the other side was terrifying. It wasn't a giant black hole. It wasn't a single, dark star. It was a monster of a completely different scale. Behind the dust lay a region where everything was crashing together, a massive pile-up of galaxy clusters, heavily packed around a spot called the Norma cluster. But the galaxies you could see were just the tip of the iceberg. To create enough gravity to pull our entire corner of the universe at 1.3 million miles per hour, that cluster had to be surrounded by a giant, invisible cloud of dark matter. Here is where the size becomes impossible to hold in your head. Imagine the entire Milky Way, every star, every planet, every grain of dust, as a single coin. The Great Attractor is a pile of tens of thousands of those coins, stacked in one place. So much stuff packed so tightly together that it acts like a drain at the bottom of the universe. We are caught in the current. But science rarely settles for the first answer. This is where the story gets even stranger. Because as our telescopes got better in the 2000s, astronomers realized something was deeply wrong with the Great Attractor. It was massive, yes, but it wasn't massive enough. Here is the part that broke the whole theory. When they ran the numbers, the Great Attractor only explained about 44% of our speed. It was like finding a magnet that you thought was pulling a car, only to realize the magnet is way too weak. Therefore, something else had to be pulling the magnet itself. In 2014, a team led by astronomer Brent Tully mapped out 8,000 galaxies. They didn't just mark where the galaxies sat, they traced exactly how they were moving. What they found completely changed our understanding of the universe. The Great Attractor was not the end of the line. It was just a valley. Think about pouring water on the side of a mountain. It flows down into a stream, then a river, and finally pools into a lake. Galaxies do the exact same thing, just guided by gravity instead of height. Tully's team mapped the entire flow of our local universe, and they gave it a beautiful name, Laniakea, Hawaiian for immeasurable heaven. Laniakea is a supercluster, a connected web of 100,000 galaxies stretching 520 million light-years across. If you zoom out far enough, it looks exactly like the glowing brain cells inside a human head, or the thin veins running through a leaf. So what about the Great Attractor? It is simply the heavy center of this one specific leaf. We are flowing toward the Great Attractor, but the Great Attractor itself is moving. The entire Laniakea supercluster is being dragged toward an even older pileup of matter known as the Shapley supercluster, sitting an unbelievable 650 million light-years away. It is gravity all the way down. A Russian nesting doll of space falling into itself. Now, here is the question that should have been bothering you since the very beginning of this video. If we are speeding through space toward a massive wall of thousands of galaxies, what happens when we hit it? Will we crash? The answer is no, but the reason why is worse than a crash. Because while gravity is pulling us in, something else is actively ripping the universe apart. Dark energy. 2 words. Nobody fully understands what it is, but it is winning. For billions of years, gravity was the king of the universe. It pulled dust into stars, stars into galaxies, and galaxies into massive superclusters like Laniakea. But roughly 5 billion years ago, the balance of power shifted. An invisible, completely unexplained force started pushing the very fabric of space apart, faster and faster, every single day. Think of it like 2 ants walking toward each other on a giant rubber band. They are moving as fast as their little legs can carry them. But someone is stretching the rubber band faster than the ants can walk. No matter how hard they try, the distance between them keeps growing. We are falling toward the Great Attractor at 1.3 million miles an hour. But the space between us is stretching faster than we are moving. Gravity is losing the war. We are racing toward a finish line that is actively running away from us. We will never reach the Great Attractor. We will never crash into the Shapley supercluster. In fact, give it enough time, and dark energy will pull the entire Laniakea supercluster completely apart. The great glowing web of galaxies will be stretched until the threads holding them together snap. One by one, the galaxies will drift apart. The web will go dark. The largest thing your corner of the universe ever built will fade into nothing. The universe you live in right now is a temporary setup. If you had been born billions of years ago, the night sky would be blindingly bright, packed with galaxies pulling toward each other. But if you are born trillions of years from now, the night sky will be completely black. Dark energy will have pushed every other galaxy so far away that their light will simply never reach us again. Future civilizations will look up and see nothing but an empty, endless darkness. They won't know about Laniakea. They won't know about the Great Attractor. They will look into the dark and believe they are completely alone in the universe. But you are here right now. You exist in the exact, narrow window of time where we can still see the proof. Long enough after the Big Bang for the dust to have settled into stars. Early enough that the universe hasn't yet been ripped apart by the dark. We can still look out, see through the dust, and spot the invisible forces pulling us through the emptiness. So the next time you step outside, remember what's actually happening. You are strapped to a rock, spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, circling a star at 67,000 miles an hour, falling through a valley of space at 1.3 million miles an hour, being pulled toward a massive mystery you will never, ever reach. And you are exactly where you are supposed to be.